Welcome to the new fucking Toad Smite video. Well, what's this video about? Well, I'm going to get rid of my depression palace. I know. But Toad Smite, depression palace is better than any therapy. Yeah, I know, I love a depression palace, but we have to face the facts. Me and you, us together, we have to face the facts. My mom's coming together tomorrow, and in all fairness, the depression palace has outlived its welcome. Now, not only because, the obvious reason of, hey, I'm literally forced to clean stuff, unless I want to give my fucking mom a heart attack, but also, it's starting to smell, and honestly, it's starting to be inconvenient too. Like, I'm not saying it's really stinky right now. Like, if something's stinky, I get rid of it. But it's definitely gotten to the point where it's more than zero smell. Like, I'm not saying like it smells like rot. It just kind of smells like food, at this point. And the problem with something smelling like food is in a few days it will start smelling like rot. So what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna talk to you about some things I've been thinking about, but generally just clean up my depression palace until it's at a manageable level of crime and dirt and whatever. So here I have all my hair dyeing shit, like hair dye boxes, like wow, hair dye tubes that are smearing on my hand right now with whatever concoction they have become. Got some like other hair dyeing components because it took a long while to get my hair to be blonde, and my hair is damaged as fuck at this point. But gotta do what you gotta do for the swag, right? You gotta have the swag. And I got some razor blades for the razor. And my mom has the same brand, turns out. I was confused for a second. An old razor blade, got some toothpaste, got some shit in the shower too that I need to get rid of. Because her hair dyeing things. Well, once you dye your hair, you're supposed to use a conditioner that comes with hair dye. And so I have those there. So I have old shampoo bottles, body wash bottles, some more conditioner. It's a right old mess. It's a right old mess. Anyway, more hair dye boxes. You know how it is. You know how it is. This is how much it took to fucking make my hair blonde, and I didn't even want blonde. I wanted silver. But I literally could not, in good conscience, damage my hair further. Like, this is the most I'm willing to damage my hair for hair dyeing. Even though I could probably get it silver if I dye it like one more time. But that type of thinking got me into this mess, and it won't get me out of it. Okay, so I'm now starting to clean my kitchen, which is the actual like more pressing thing to clean up. Yeah. Anyway, let's start talking about the actual topics of this video that I wanted to talk about. The first is the entire concept of being one of the good ones. Now, I recorded a long rant about this. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get my whole fucking emotion out there. Now, the problem with that is that my channel isn't really based on me being emotional. And I would have felt uncomfortable releasing. I asked around for like what people thought of it, and most people's take was like, oh yeah, why not release it? But it's like, I know I'm not like the person to care about my fucking brand or whatever, right? So I'm not like, oh, it's too off-brand for a Toad Smite video right now. That's not really the problem, but the problem is that I know the type of thing that resonates the most with my audience, because I talk to most of my audience, and no, or rather most of my like hardcore audience, I guess. At least I presume. But anyway, and I knew that wouldn't really appeal to any of them. So I was like, okay, what's my real motivation for doing it? Like, because I don't really make YouTube videos for myself. I make YouTube videos for my friends primarily. And if I was to publish that, I would be making a video for people who I did not have in my audience yet, right? And that can be fine sometimes, but it's like, I don't want more people in my audience, really. Like, I just, in all honesty, right, it has affected me in a way, because I am a human, that my audience has dwindled since I fucking started making less accessible content, right? but again, I'm making less accessible content, or at least I was until recently. So it would just be expected that my audience would get smaller, right? But it has been kind of affecting me, right? And I want to use something like that to fucking propel any decisions, because those decisions would, in all fairness, be the wrong decisions to make. But yeah, the rant itself is about the fact that when someone's saying that you're one of the good ones, right? If you're in a group, right? They're not saying that you're morally good, or that you're somehow a good person, right? Like what they're saying is that the group that they affiliate you with has inherent behavioral problems, right? And you are self-correcting them and not making them basically exercise their power against you, right? Like by saying that you're one of the good ones, what's really happening is them saying that, hey, you should keep making yourself miserable for our comfort, because that's the thing that you should do, because the thing that you are is a bad thing to be, right? And by that logic, right, you can never be one of the good ones. You can just be not one of the ones, right? You can have zero solidarity. You can, if you're gay, you can like exercise homophobia against yourself, and thus avoid other people doing it to you, right? But that doesn't really mean that it's not happening, right? It just means that you're doing it to yourself, and if you ever fail to do it, you'll stop being one of the good ones, because you're gonna let your like gayness show, or you're gonna let it show that you're trans, or whatever else, right? So overall, right, the point I was trying to make is that by trying to be one of the good ones, you're not helping yourself, right? You're just making yourself subject to the same pressures you would otherwise be, except just avoiding other people knowingly doing it to you, right? Which, some people might prefer, but I would say generally it's not a very preferable behavior when contrasted with just being nice to yourself and not giving a fuck what other people think, right? At least that's my take. So another thing I wanted to talk about is the Disrupt YouTube channel, because they had this one really good video, right, which is the world's deadliest computer virus, right? That was a revolutionary video in many ways, right? The format it had meshed perfectly with the presentation and the story. It was an incredibly well written video, right? And it was just groundbreaking because it utilized effects and editing that were not really prevalent in YouTube before the video, right? And with this one video coming out, the entirety of like the YouTube community adapted to it like overnight, right? You saw many people using the editing techniques that were used in that video, right? And I think that's a bad thing. Oh, but the video was so good, though, my dear. But we can just for example, just for the least egregious example, we can look at all the videos that Disrupt made after the world's deadliest computer virus, right? They've still had great writing, right? They've still had great editing, but with every single video they make that's like a hacking video essay, right? The presentation gets further and further away from the storytelling, right? Because the presentation was that way because it was so perfect for the particular story they told. And with every single new story they tell, they have to contrive it further to make it fit the presentation, right? So if that's what's happening to the people who came up with it, right, how the fuck are the people who were influenced by doing, right? And it's always bad, because they aren't using the technique in such a way that would enhance their videos. Rather, they're using the technique because it just kind of looks cool and it's kind of a cool thing to do, which again is fine, right? It's a visually striking set of designs and stuff, right? But that doesn't mean it should be used in excess, right? Because it can like add spice to your video if you do like some glitch effects and if you like weave some things together in a creative way, right? Of course it can spice your videos. But if you're doing it to an extent that like Disrupt was doing at the start, it would just be excessive. And now Disrupt has like gone full circle, where its own use of its of its editing techniques have become excessive, right? Because they peaked. Because I mean, I haven't been a long-term Disrupt fan, but I've gone back and looked at some of their old videos, right? And you can see like the seeds of the techniques in those videos and so on and so on and so on, right? But they're used more sparingly and more intermittently, right? But now that they're kind of known for the editing, they have just gone fucking way overboard with all of their fucking effects. And I can't really get as into them as I otherwise would be if they just continued innovating, right? But that's how it works, right? You find a formula that you can work with, and you just keep doing that formula, even if it's to the detriment of your videos, right? Because it was creative at the start, and people are gonna like it for at least like a year or something. And then the fucking channel will start dying, and then the people who like fucking run the channel will be like, holy shit, our channel is dying. Oh, the YouTube algorithm is fucking us over, even though just people got tired of the fucking videos. Like that's another thing that annoys me a lot about YouTube, is that people constantly go like, oh, the algorithm is punishing me. Oh, I'm being punished by the algorithm, right? But the algorithm isn't really that complicated, right? Because the algorithm has one goal: keep people on YouTube for as long as possible, right? If you're making videos that can attract people and that can keep people on YouTube, the algorithm will favor your videos, right? It's not some arcane thing that you have to fucking go through hoops for, right? The algorithm isn't something beyond human comprehension, right? In fact, it's very easily comprehensible by humans. It's just that the thing is, people don't want to admit this, right? People don't want to go like, oh, fucking, maybe it's my fault that my videos aren't working. They want to go like, oh, yeah, it's the algorithm. Now, I'm not talking about search engine optimization or shit like that, right? Because that's things you do to manipulate humans, right? It's not something, you don't optimize your fucking YouTube video placement for the algorithm. You do it so you get more people watching, and that works, right? Because that's ultimately what everything is based on. But the truth of the matter is that if you can't get humans watching your videos, no matter what you do, you won't be successful, right? And that's why I keep saying that I've never seen a YouTube channel that has good videos stay small, right? Like every time I see like a small channel being shouted out, right? It's never a channel that has really great videos. Now, of course, this is not subjectively like my opinion. Like, my favorite channels are channels that my friends run and that are fairly small, right? Like, my favorite YouTube channel of all time is probably No Thank You's channel. And that only has like 500 subscribers, right? But when you look at it from the perspective of like the general public, it's like fucking low fidelity fucking videos about just random concepts that most people will not be interested in, right? And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. To me, it's the best thing. But yeah, like it's kind of obvious to see why No Thank You has not really like blown up to the extent that another person would. Now, like if No Thank You decided overnight, like, hey, I'm gonna start making fucking video essays that I edit for like 10 hours or realistically like 30 hours, and I'm gonna do like really high quality voiceovers, right? I'm gonna like have the YouTube voice, right? I'm gonna keep like doing takes until I get the perfect take. Then I'm gonna edit those takes perfectly together so you can't even notice that there are takes. And then I'm gonna like fucking crowd source a fucking title and thumbnail through some fucking whatever the fuck people do. And like No Thank You would get way more views, right? Just objectively, not because that video would be better for me to watch, but it would be a video that more people would be open to watching. I mean, as long as it was a video about a relevant subject, right? Because that's just That's just a fact of life, right? And this isn't really related to like what YouTubers themselves would consider as quality, right? Because a lot of YouTubers have a really warped view of quality. The view I've had for this for a really long time is that the thing that YouTubers spend the most time on is editing, right? So it makes sense that the thing that the YouTube population considers to be the most important part of their videos is the part that they do the most, right? So if you spend like fucking 5 hours recording a video, right, and you spend 30 hours editing that video, of course you're gonna think that the editing is the most important part. And a lot of YouTube viewers have kind of picked up on this attitude, right? And they keep like proliferating it, right? They keep going like, oh, your editing is great, right? But most people don't actually care that much about editing. Of course, people prefer, to an extent, a well-edited video over a poorly edited one, right? But what that means isn't, oh, a well-edited video is one with a shit ton of fancy effects, right? And a well-edited video is a video with like so much effort put into it and going frame by frame through the video and making sure everything's perfect. No, a well-edited video is a video that supports its format, right? Like, for example, when Riolo was a person before he got fucking exposed for cheating, right? A lot of people commented on his videos like, oh, how am I enjoying these videos so much even though you don't have any editing? Now, of course, this is obvious to me because I'm the genius of the world, right? And it's because his style, which was just clips from his live stream, fit the needs that he was feeling in his audience, right? He had a comfy stream, he was constantly talking, he was exploring some interesting ideas, and he could get away with no editing because he was playing an engaging game at a really high level, right? And there's absolutely no need to edit that. But like, for example, if you're making a video on like some game and you're analyzing it, right, you kind of have to have some footage that's corresponding to the things that you're saying, right? And it's even better if you visualize something, and if you're telling a story, you can use the visual medium as Disrupt did to enhance your story greatly. And actually, the best example for editing isn't actually a YouTuber for me. The best example is, what the fuck was the guy? I forgot the fucking guy's name. I need to remember the guy's name. Who made hypernormalization? Who was the? I should know this guy. He's made so many videos I really like. Adam Curtis. Adam Curtis, to me, is the best example for editing. Not because his editing is fancy or whatever, but because his editing serves the narrative he's trying to construct perfectly, right? You can just stare at an Adam Curtis video and see things that you normally would not have seen, right? Because he'll go into obscure, interesting sources for visuals, and you'll get to see obscure, interesting things happen if you just look at the visuals, right? It has nothing to do with the fucking effort put into editing, but rather the skill, which is a different thing. But like for a YouTuber, for example, John Boyce is the classic example. And John Boyce uses a lot of visualization techniques that aren't really high fidelity, right? Like John Boyce doesn't go like the Bob crisis or the Bob emergency. It's one of my favorite YouTube videos of all time. And when you look at that video, right, there's a fucking ton of like artifacting and other visual flaws, quote unquote, right? But they don't detract from anything he's trying to visualize, right? They don't detract from actually seeing the interesting things. So it doesn't matter that there are artifacts. It doesn't matter that it's not high fidelity, right? But what matters is it's showing you the part that you need to be shown. And that's why John Boyce is so fucking great, because he knows what he needs to do and when he needs to do it, you know. So like that's another YouTuber who has just phenomenal editing by my standards, even though he doesn't have like like some strenuous attention to detail in every single thing he fucking does. But yeah, another thing that fucking pisses me off is fucking YouTubers explaining basic things. Like today, I was watching a video. Like this is one of the worst videos I've ever watched. Right, but like I was like, oh, I'm looking for background noise. This video seems like it could be some background noise, and it was fucking awful. It was awful. I didn't finish it, but it was awful from the start until the point where I stopped watching. And one part of the video was the person making the video being like, oh, here's the myth of Icarus explained. And that fucking took me aback, right? Because I'm used to YouTubers explaining really basic things like, oh, this is what a Game Boy is. Oh, this is what this other thing is. Oh, this is what this really basic thing that most people know is, right? Because people have to hear it from somewhere, right? There's probably like one person who has never fucking heard of it, right? But the myth of Icarus is like, you don't have to explain that, right? Oh, Dodesmite, what if there's a person who has not heard of the myth of Icarus, right? You can just use the phrase, oh, she flew too close to the sun, which is an allusion to the myth of Icarus, in which a character flew too close to the sun, which is an example of excessive hubris, right? Like, you don't need to explain the whole fucking myth. Most people know the myth, and for those who don't, you can get the gist, right? But this person explained like, oh, so basically the myth of it, and she had like animations, like not like full animations, but like just like pictures moving around the screen, right? And it's like, okay, so Mithras was this kid on this island, and like his dad made him wings so he could get out of the island, right? But like they were made of like wax, so when he flew too close to the sun, they melted. And, like more in depth than I'm going right now, right? And it's like, it's a fucking myth of Icarus. Like, one of the most well-known myths ever. And, like, that's not a thing you need to explain. That's a thing that you can assume your audience knows. Or if they don't know, right, it's like two people. It's two people. And since two people might not know it, right, you have to, like, explain the whole things to the audience. But, like, that wasn't the offensive part for me. Like, that part was just expected, right? That was just, it's a YouTube video, right? I know what I'm getting into. There's gonna be like an overly long explanation for something really basic somewhere in the video, right? It's just what YouTube videos do. But the part that like really got me was that she started out the fucking explanation of the myth of Icarus by being like, so I've always been really into like ancient myths, and I was like, okay, if you're gonna say the myth of Icarus, right, because I saw the illusion coming, right, because the illusion was so fucking obvious. So I was like, okay, if you're gonna preface this with being like, oh, I'm really into myths, right, and then you use the one that literally everyone knows, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. And she was like, so there's this myth, it's called the myth of Icarus, and I'm like, fuck. Like, that was the part that really fucking offended me about the video. Like you can't just say that you're really into something and then talk about something that literally everyone knows, right? Like maybe it's like a matter of perspective. I don't know. Like maybe some people don't know the myth of Icarus. I don't know, that just took me fucking aback. But yeah, I've basically cleaned up everything I want to clean up on camera. So if I have something in the future I want to talk about, I'm gonna just fucking talk about that again before I finish cleaning. But that's most of the things I wanted to talk about, and most of the things I feel comfortable cleaning up on camera. So yeah, yep.